Penultimate Straw Hat, Brooke, let's go. Okay, so we're talking about Brooke today, if you couldn't tell that already. Brooks only had 2 bounties so far, and his first one was 33 million berries. He received this 50 years ago, so it could possibly be outdated, and there could also be the possibility of inflation happening with Brooks' bounty because obviously it's 50 years, currency could go up for less than that time. So Brooks' bounty could be closer or not equivalent to his actual most recent bounty of 83 million berries, but let's say that inflation hasn't happened within the last 50 years and Brooks' bounty is what it was. Then if we think about other characters that have a bounty of around that area, Luffy of course had a bounty of 30 million after defeating Arlong and Don Krieg and Kuro and Buggy. And even though I feel like a lot of them could be higher in terms of bounty, especially Arlong, because Arlong's bounty still makes no sense to me. I know that it was early in the story, but it's still pretty strange when you put it in perspective now. So in terms of Brooks' bounty, 33 million is a pretty good start, but then we get past that to his bounty of 83 million. And since Brook joined the crew so late, then he didn't really have much to do like with the arcs leading up to that. And I feel like Brook's never really gotten a proper one-on-one fight that he's actually like properly defeated his opponent. Like we got smaller things like him versus Ryuma, and then moving into the time skip, he fought off a lot of the new fisherman pirates fodder. And then like the new fisherman pirates, I don't even count. Like they weren't impressive like in the slightest. I don't count any of those as real fights for any of the Straw Hats. And then Punk Hazard, he's just kind of around, he's Brook. He does what he does, which is be funny musician man, and then Dressrosa, which he wasn't even there for the majority of it, like half the Straw Hats. So he just gets a 50 million increase like most of the other Straw Hats. So now we have a basis. So moving into Wano, he doesn't really do much in particular throughout this arc. Until we get to now, he just kind of scares people most of the time, which I guess could help to determine his bounty if people are talking about him, but I don't feel like that's going to be much of a factor in the end. And so far, Brook has been helping out Robin fighting Black Maria, but now that the fight is over, and it seems like Robin is pretty much like pretty tired and pretty much done for at least like the remaining few chapters or whatever could happen. I feel like she's incapacitated for now. But Brook still seems to be ready to keep going and fighting. And like I feel like there are a few possibilities for Brook, because first of all, the first, second, and third numbers, which could be the strongest, have not been identified yet. There's also number 6, but that could probably just be taken care of by whoever. And quite frankly, I feel like that could be a good place for Drake, because at the current moment, last we've seen of Drake, he was actually chomping on Apu, and Apu could be the perfect opponent for Brook. And even though it feels like a lot of the Straw Hats, like sometimes it seems like underwhelming, especially in this arc in particular, because they kind of like got over with their fights pretty quickly. I don't feel like most of their fights are done, and especially for Brook, who hasn't gotten a fight yet, I feel like it would be a very good place for him to square off against Apu. And we've seen that Apu kind of has a high endurance of his own, because in the last episode at this point, he takes a Punk Gibson and he's fine, and then he takes a slash from Zoro and he's alive, I guess. I guess chomped by a dinosaur, so we'll see if he survives that. We did actually see Drake in chapter 1006 in his hybrid form with Hyogoro, and we did actually see Apu like a few different times. He was there, and he still seems to be conscious, so there's the chances going up right there. Yeah, him versus Brook would be a good fight, and Apu has like over 300 million berries. I feel like that would be a good opponent for Brook, for him to get an increase. Otherwise, I would just say that he would get an even 100 million increase. But if he does get this fight, then he could get like 300 million added to his, which would make 383 million, which would be a good place for Brook. And then in the final saga, I feel like he could fight whichever one of the Blackbeard pirates. And I feel like with the structure of the One Piece story, there's probably only going to be 2 more times when they get bounty increases, which is first of all going to be after Wano, and then the final section of the story. I feel like for some Straw Hats like Luffy and Zoro and Sanji, and maybe even Jinbei, they could get smaller increases, and maybe Robin as well. But for the rest of them, I feel like they're just going to get regular increases, like Brook in particular. So let's say that Brook defeats Scratch number 2 and he gets 383 million berries, and then let's say he fights final member of the Blackbeard crew and whoever else is just kind of there along the way. Brook could get a final bounty of like 883 million berries. I feel like that would be a good place for him. Like I put Frankie's at 994 million, which I felt would be like just less than a billion. And I feel like all of them are in that same tier. I put Robin at a billion as well. So Brook getting 883 would be a good place for him. It's not like super high, but it's not like super low either. And I feel like it might be too high, but I feel like it would be a good place for Brook, especially if we get to see more from him in the future, especially going into this ending part of Wano. Maybe even if we get Roof Piece Part 2, where we get to see the Straw Hats fight off Kaido for a minute, then that would be a good place for the world government to be able to see that and be like, oh my god, the Skeleton Man is still a threat. So yeah, that's the Brook video. Not really sure, kind of confused. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, share around the video. Notifications on if you want, if you care. You can kind of just watch my videos whenever, as long as I get some amount of views. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, this is the video. Bye.